The Enlightenment Practices of Patanjali, Step 4. Sacred Breath, Slowing the Winds. There is a silence within the breath, a space between inhale and exhale that holds a secret. It is not dramatic, it is not loud, but in that stillness, something ancient begins to stir. In Step 4 of Patanjali's path toward enlightenment, we are asked to listen, not to the mind, but to the breath. This is not just about breathing exercises. It is about transforming the breath from a survival mechanism into a sacred tool for awakening. This is the fourth limb, control of breath, the beginning of mastery over the invisible winds within. Section 1. Breath in the Yoga Sutras. In Patanjali's system, the breath becomes important only after stillness of the body has been mastered. This is critical. He doesn't start with technique, he starts with stability. Once you can sit in calm, upright stillness, you are ready to approach the breath, gently, deliberately, with reverence. Patanjali describes this step as conscious regulation of breath. He speaks of refining both the length and the subtlety of breathing, not pushing it, but allowing it to become so smooth, so quiet, that the breath itself becomes a meditation. In this state, the breath no longer pulls the mind outward. Instead, it draws awareness inward. This is the beginning of energetic refinement. Section 2. What happens when you breathe slowly? When we breathe quickly, the body enters a mild state of alarm. The heart rate speeds up, the mind becomes restless, and our awareness scatters. But when we slow the breath, something entirely different happens. Modern science tells us that slow, rhythmic breathing engages the parasympathetic nervous system, the part of the body responsible for healing, resting, and internal focus. This is known as the relaxation response. Blood pressure decreases. Stress hormones drop. The brain begins to shift from active states into more meditative rhythms. What ancient seers discovered through direct experience, we now confirm through research. The breath is a gateway to altered states of consciousness. Section 3. The subtle winds within. In many yogic and meditative traditions, breath is more than air. It is the carrier of life force, a subtle movement of energy that animates both body and mind. When your breath is chaotic, this life force is scattered. Thoughts race, emotions surge, focus becomes difficult. But when the breath slows and steadies, that energy is gathered. The mind becomes quiet, and something deeper begins to emerge, a state of unified awareness. This is why so many meditation systems, both ancient and modern, begin with breath control. The breath is the remote control for the mind. You don't have to suppress thought, you just slow the breath, and thought will begin to slow on its own. Section 4. Breath and brainwave science. Scientific studies now show that conscious breathing changes brainwave activity. When breathing slows to fewer than 6 full cycles per minute, the brain begins to shift into alpha and theta waves, states associated with deep meditation, intuition, and reduced self-referential thinking. In this state, people report a sense of inner peace, timelessness, heightened clarity, emotional balance, and in some cases, vivid spiritual insight. So when Patanjali speaks of refining breath, he is not simply offering a relaxation technique, he is inviting the seeker into a different dimension of awareness. Section 5. How to begin the practice. You do not need complex techniques. What matters most is consistency and gentleness. Start with this. Sit upright in a quiet place. Close your eyes. Inhale slowly for 4 seconds. Pause for 4 seconds. Exhale slowly for 4 seconds. Pause again for 4 seconds. This is called balanced breathing. Repeat for 5 to 10 minutes. Do not force the breath. Let it smooth itself out like a calm wave returning to shore. With practice, the pauses between breaths will begin to open up a new kind of space, a stillness between actions, a doorway between thoughts. This is where insight comes, not from effort, but from the breath's surrender into stillness. Section 6. Why this step matters spiritually. This is not breathwork for performance. It is not about how long you can hold your breath or how advanced the technique is. This is about preparing the mind for absorption, for a kind of stillness that cannot be reached through thought. In the step that follows breath control, the senses begin to withdraw, the outer world begins to fade, and awareness begins to turn fully inward. But this cannot happen if the breath is pulling the mind outward. To move into stillness, the breath must become like a quiet stream, barely noticeable, but powerfully guiding the current of awareness. This is why step 4 is the turning point. It is not dramatic, but it is essential. Section 7. What to watch for. As you deepen your breath practice, observe. Does your mind become quieter during and after the session? Do you feel more focused without strain? Are you beginning to notice the pause between breaths as a space of peace? These are signs the practice is working. You are not trying to force anything. You are learning how to receive stillness. And if the mind resists, if boredom or impatience arise, simply return to the breath, again and again. This repetition is not failure. It is training. Final reflection. The breath is not just what keeps you alive. It is the rhythm of your inner world. It reflects your thoughts, your emotions, your attention. And when refined, it becomes the bridge to stillness. Step 4 is quiet but profound. It is the first true inward shift. From breath we enter presence. From presence we discover stillness. And from stillness we begin to see what lies beyond the mind. This is sacred breath. This is the practice of slowing the winds, not with force, but with reverence. If this teaching resonated with you, I invite you to continue walking the path, step by step. Each limb of Patanjali's map builds on the one before it. Together, they lead to something real, something unshakable, something free. Subscribe to stay close to this unfolding journey. And if you feel called to support this sacred work, you can become a member and help keep the flame alive. The next breath is already here. Let it carry you home.